We have a Vietnamese parlor guitar in front of us. A parlor guitar which is zero size, I believe, in the guitar world. And is very pretty. But it is also very, very, very sick. Let's have a look at it. Has a little bit of damage there, but when I was looking at the guitar there, the little piece might be inside, but I haven't checked to see yet. The frets are like razor blades down the outside. Well, that's a minor thing to look at. That's perfectly okay. The head looks perfectly okay too. It has a space for a truss rod adjustment. Hopefully there's a truss rod in there. I haven't looked yet. The nut is too high, as you will see. It's as high as an elephant's eye, right? And the action down here is beyond a joke. It is the width of a finger. Look, you can get your finger in there. That means the guitar is virtually unplayable. Now, the reasons for that can be the nut height or the bridge height. But we don't have a lot to play with on the bridge. A tiny bit, but not much, right? We could also have a problem with a belly in the guitar, but I can't figure out yet whether that's, as you can see, there is a belly in the guitar, which means that the top of the guitar is stretching. But another problem this poor little guitar has is that the actual string holder is coming away from the guitar. Can you see that okay? Yeah, you see where it's coming away. And now this is such fine wood, koa wood I believe it is, that's going to be difficult to sort out. This should not be touching the guitar because it buzzes, and I think it most definitely is touching the guitar. So the first thing to do to try to fix this, or this could be my first failure, is to adjust the truss rod, bring the nut height down as low as we can, and check the neck to see if that's made any difference. One of the little issues in the neck is that the wood they used was not the best quality, and it has nuts and grinds in it. It's also got little holes in the, let me just see if I can show you the little holes in the fretboard. No, they're right there. There's one underneath that string there, dead center. Little holes, so there's more there. So hopefully, if I can get the string height down to a place where it's playable, then we can worry about the other things. The most difficult thing is going to be this. I think I may have to do a hack job on this to try to get this sorted, because there's no point in even fixing the rest of the guitar if the strings are going to fly off someday. So I feel like I should be playing the death march on this little guitar, but it's until it's dead, it's still got a chance. So I'll come back to you when I do all my tool stuff. Oh dear, its life support is dwindling. The back end of the guitar has crushed in now that I've lifted up the string holder. It's completely crushed in and lifted up the top. I don't know whether you can see that. I'm sure you can see it. That's all lifted up. That should not be there because that is being pulled against it and has crushed the inside of the guitar. And it means everything inside that's all been crushed and squished that way. Whoops, that way. It's going to have to be creative to try to get around that. Although, can I get around that? That is a killer blow. Let's just see if there's anything we can do. That's all split. That's all. You can see it split open because that's all been pushed upwards towards us. but that means that the whole end of the guitar has been pushed in where that should be round. It is sort of slightly flat because that's pushed in, so there's nothing holding it. The only real way to do this is to take the whole top of the guitar off and put in struts and things like that. It's just not worth it. But I'm wondering if there's any way I can bluff it. It'll make a great little wall hanger, but if I can get it to play in any fashion without any further damage, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Right. Here's what I'm thinking. Only a thought. A sheet of brass, right? Cut it to fit perfectly there between the bands and give it a little bit of a bend, which would then give strength to the whole back end, and put that on top again, which would spread the load across this. And if I can get, that's actually quite strong there, wood, so if I can get a couple of screws down there into the stronger aspect, it might be a relatively cheap way to keep this guitar playing and a non-destructive way, because I can't take the head off. That would just be a complete mess. Take the top off with the binding around the edges. Very nice binding too, but with the binding around the edges, I'd destroy all the binding. Talking days work. And what I'm going to find inside, but the screw that went in there went in fairly tightly, which may mean that it's this piece of wood here that was crushed upwards. So if we can put something that's quite strong brass, I'd have to get it specially cut, but in there and then bent, and then put the 3 screws, maybe a screw at each side too down there, that would hold the strings tight. Okay, we'll see what the owner says. Okay, back to our parlour guitar. Baldric has been working inside my head, and Baldric has a cunning plan. No turnips are involved. The previous plan about a metal plate had some problems with it. We could still do it, but it's depending on screws to hold that from going back and forth. But Baldric's cunning plan is that you can only do that in this kind of guitar, by the way, too. Baldric's cunning plan is that we drill a hole here, right, and insert a dowel the full length of the guitar, not this one, but a dowel from the neck to there inside the guitar. And we would, when we go in there, we would drill a little hole there and put a screw in to hold it in place. And when it comes out the other end, it would extend a little bit further than the guitar. Not much further, maybe the thickness of the skin, right? And that would hold the, what do you call that? Oh, I keep forgetting the name. This here thing, right? Okay. My head's not working. But we also have a problem with the guitar that this is bellied a little bit. So if we put the dowel in, which you can't see, it'll be beneath that there. What I'm suggesting is, you see this area here, that inside here I cut a hole right? When the dowel is in and the guitar is stretched taut. Cut a hole here. Clean away any debris that's inside there. We can afford to cut a hole. What have I done with that? Is that there? Right, okay. I've marked out the size of the hole we can afford to cut because it'll be hidden by this. But I wouldn't cut it that size. I would cut it there. Clean out the debris, etc., etc. Put another bit of wood, maybe before the dowel, so that put a piece of wood is, how do I describe this? The piece of wood is sitting there on the inside, and then the dowel is on the other side pushing the wood out. But that hole would also allow me to look at to see if there's any strapping, because most guitars have a strap of wood underneath to hold it up, just so that it doesn't belly. If there's any strapping, then I can fix the strapping if it's broken. But also, if there's no strapping, I can put a wedge between the guitar body and the dowel rod, which will be held by screws at both ends. Then, hopefully, if I've been careful with the wood, cutting it out, I could glue this back on again, and it would look pretty ugly, but it's going to be hidden by this, right? But that would give us a good strong base rather than depending on screws, because the dowel rod would be dependent on the neck and vice versa, right? And it would also prop up the thing. Now, you could only do it on a guitar like this here, because this guitar at the moment is not a guitar. It's a wall hanger. It's no use for anything. You can't play it at all unless we get a good strong thing in it. And I think that it's been made in Vietnam. And I know it's been made in Vietnam. I haven't been spent a lot of time on strapping and woodwork underneath it. So, but you could only do that in this guitar because there's no round hole. Because if there was a round hole, you'd see the dowel rod, and it would affect the sound. Yeah, it's going to affect the sound tiny little bit, but there's the sound holes up there. So that is Baldric's suggestion. Now the owner has to say, okay, let's go with that, or let's stick with the plate. Right. This little guitar got a reprieve there for a second, but what I'm going to do is cut into it. That's the area where I can cut, but that's not the area where I'm going to cut. It's not too fussy where I'm going to cut, but I'm going to try to be as careful as possible. It's going to be, the interesting thing is going to be interesting trying to get this piece of wood back in again. So let's just, I only want to make a cut like that. Whoa! Right, I don't want to make it to the edges, I want to make it like that. And this should be very light wood. When I get to the middle bit, just for those of you who are interested, whenever I finish cutting out this little bit, this will sit over the top of it, so you won't see it, and hopefully I'll be able to glue it back in again. Right, that's the first cut. The first cut's gone right through. Problem well, what I discovered when I was cutting it, it cut through like cardboard, which meant that the wood's all separated in the grain. So getting this back in is going to be a joy, but it's not necessary to get back in. What I'm going to do now is do the second trim marking down. I'm hoping to go the whole way down to the bottom. Let me just see. I don't want to I want to see if I can maybe pry that off without damaging the, but how I'm going to get that, probably like cardboard in there, but paper cardboard. So I'll just do the same as what I did earlier. I'll just work the knife back and forth, bit by bit. I left a little corner there, by the way, to give me strength. So I didn't start right at the edge. I started there. That gives me a little bit more room to put a little bit of pressure on. See, that's going right through like paper, sadly. You can actually feel it cracking underneath the knife. I wish it was harder to do. That means it would be stronger, but I'm decided to do this way first because I wanted to see what I'm up against whenever I put the dowel rod in through the whole guitar. But as you can see, this is what I'm doing. And really, nobody wants to sit and watch that, so I'll leave you in peace. Well, the good news, and it is good news, is that this part is not crushed in there. What has happened is this part of the wood that gave away. So that means when I put the dowel rod in, I'll have a solid base for it to go against, which will stretch that guitar out. The other part of good news is there's a good strut across there, and it's in solid. So that means I don't need to wedge this up. But the third part of the good news is that I should be able to bring that back down, that bulge, because the pressure, when I relieve the pressure with the dowel rod, that'll push that out and that'll bring that end down again and make it rounded. It's actually flat. I don't think you can see it on the camera. It's actually flat there. So the dowel rod will push it out and make that rounded and bring that end down again, and I can glue that in. And I will be able to glue in the little bits that I've chopped out, and I didn't take it right to the edge. But when you see this finished thing, it'll look a lot better than that. Okay. Better to do this in little bits so you can understand it better. I tried to put a dowel rod in there as an experiment, but I can't get a dowel rod long enough. So what I'm going to have to do is drill a hole here to go the length of the head so they can put the dowel rod in. But what I would much prefer, no actually, if I drill a hole there and put the dowel rod in, that means the dowel rod will be sitting where the hole is. What I want to do is drill a hole there, put the dowel rod in there, and then push the dowel rod down to there. That leaves me with a hole for no reason, but if I cut the dowel rod correctly and stretch it correctly, then the dowel rod would sit there. Then I put the screw in. But that hole doesn't matter because that hole will be covered up. I can fill it with stuff, but no, I don't think I can. Actually, I was going to say maybe I could get, but the hole will be beneath that, and the dowel rod will be dead center, giving it strength. So that's the plan. Okay, I've marked the hole and I punched the hole, and I'm going to drill it with an electric screwdriver then on the drill light because I have more control over it, and I'm going to drill it slowly. Not putting too much pressure because I don't want to put pressure on the body again and make any further cracks. There we go. Right through. Now I may have to make that bigger. I have a feeling I will have to make that bigger. Matter of fact, I know I will have to make that bigger. It reminds me of a story, but anyway. Holy mackerel! The guitar is full of holes. Holy mackerel! And it's got another hole up here, and it's got a screw in it, but the screw is just sitting there at the moment. So what the intention is now, I've got the bar. I've got a screw on it to give it length, right? The bar is going to go in. It's got a little hole at the end and a string puller. That's the hole for the string puller, right? That hole is going to go in, and that screw is going to tighten onto that hole. Doesn't have to go crazy tight, just hold it in place. And that screw is for me to hold it with when I'm putting it in, because it's going to fall short of that hole. It's going to fall inside the guitar. I decided to do it this way because what I wanted to do is have a gap between that wood and the bar, so that I can put another little slice of either metal or wood down each side, so that I can judge how much to push this out. As you can see, this here is flat and it should be rounded. It should be coming out rounded like that, but I have to be very careful about how much I push. And rather than cutting the end of the dowel rod to millimeters and then forcing it, I cut it short so that it'll be sitting on the inside, and then I'll put wood whatchamacallit, I can't think what I'm going, what do you call it? Shims, bloody hell. And then once the wood shims are in tight and this is pulled out, then I'll undo the screw, put a touch of wood glue at one end, because I think I might want to leave it so that it's be easy to take out again, but I don't think it'll ever be taken out again. But anyway, I'm going to come back to you after I do that, because it's going to be too fiddly to put the thing in, and I got to hold the guitar upside down and everything. So hopefully I'll come back to you after I'm done all this. All right, bye. It was a struggle, but the dowel rod's in, and change of plans. I had 2 metal washers which were bigger than that hole, which sit on the actual hardwood here, and that'll give it even more strength. So whenever I put the 2 screws here to hold the tail bridge, it'll press up against the metal rods as well. Now I just have to repair all the damage. I'm also going to, if you notice there's a screw into the dowel and the 2 washers, I'm not going to put that screw the whole way in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with, oh, it's a bit of a crack there, I'll have to fix that. I'm going to fill this up with epoxy resin, so that the screw, because putting the screw the whole way in won't hold it, but filling it up with epoxy resin to the head of the screw will hold it. Right, just notice that little crack, but that'll be fixed easy enough. That's not a big deal. Okay, ciao, bye. Okay, I'm nervous. I have the strings on, but you can hear they're not tuned. This is the important part. The bar is the full length of the guitar, hidden beneath that. But this is the bit that makes me nervous. That screw is taking all the stress of the strings. Now I have glued that screw into the wood as well as screwing it in, and it seems tight, but only tuning it will let you know if it is tight. Now if that screw doesn't hold till we get it tuned, then we'll have to take the screw out and put a bolt in, which I can get in, but I don't want to go through that again because it was quite a bit of a chunk to do it. So let's tune this guitar up, okay? And keep your fingers crossed. By the way, the bridge is in completely the wrong place. We still have the problem of a high, but that's not, we're actually back to where we were at the start, but now we have that hopefully sorted. Then I can start concentrating on this, which is going to be another Heath Robinson job to try to get the bridge low enough. I think I'll take it to E and a half, E flat, and let it sit there at the moment. Right, it's not the fact that it's going to snap or anything, it's that there, that screw, is that going to hold? Because it's only a screw in there. It looks okay. I have to tell you, it's been interesting. Been interesting little guitar. This is the one with the dowel rod right through the middle, as you know. The screw's holding up so far. The bridge, I've lowered it as far as it'll humanly go. These little brass knobs do nothing now because I had to take the spindles out to get them further down. They're just there for looks and appearance. The neck is dead straight, but that's not good. I would rather have a little bit of a bow on it because then I could play with it. I managed to reduce the nut down quite considerably, so you've got a nice action at the top. The action down here is actually pretty decent, but I don't recommend playing down there too much. This is just a guitar for playing where the people make the money, from there upwards, you know. That's a nice little parlour guitar. I had to drill a hole in the neck, and I had to smash a huge hole down there to get the dowel rod in. There's just a tiny bit of damage there, and if you look closely at the neck you'll see where I put the hole. I couldn't fix that because that was gone. The little piece that had gone between there and there is gone, but I filed it down to make it look like it meant to be, and I have a little bit of colouring to do on that. Done the frets, all the frets are done. Polished, rounded, smooth. There was some sharp edges on the side, so all the nuts were loose. All the nuts in the head were loose, so I had to tighten them up. Truss rod is, well, we'll just have to see. The one thing I have noticed, which could be pretty common on this kind of guitar, and it's nearly been rebuilt inside, but one of the things, it's hard to keep it in tune at the moment. But brand new strings, a brand new body almost, so it's going to take a while to set in. Well, that's in tune. That stayed in tune, but I wouldn't like to play any Jimi Hendrix in it, you know. Or it's a parlour guitar, 18th century style. Okay, I think that's it. I'll say goodbye to this little guitar now and hope that that screw holds up.